But really, our focus right now is going to be in Pennsylvania. David McCormick is leading right now the former President Trump's endorsee, Dr. Mehmet Oz, by a slim margin. And then Kathy Barnett, who you see there on the screen, also has made a lot of noise in the past week. She is in third place. Some may say she is taking votes away from Dr. Oz tonight because she has made a splash and had a lot of momentum coming into this evening. Here is a live look at McCormick headquarters. They are waiting for the results to come in tonight, just as they are at Dr. Oz headquarters. I'm Marnie Hughes here with Leland Vittert. Another primary night. We've got a lot of things that have come in already, so we'll get to all of that. But this may be a late night for Dr. Oz and David McCormick and Kathy Barnett.
A long few days.
Could be.
For them, and also for Republicans in general. The balance of power in the Senate, what Republicans have worked for now, certainly for the past year and a half, but their one goal has been to retake the Senate in 2022. And depending on who wins or who does not win in Pennsylvania, the Senate map nationally and the way American politics looks generally will change drastically based on what happens in the next few hours.
Right. So we've got a number of states tonight, 5 states tonight. Also going to look ahead to Georgia because of an important Senate race there and some gubernatorial races as well. And the big question tonight is the former president's power, the power of that endorsement going into a lot of these races. Let's take you to Pennsylvania, though, for this Senate race that is very close at this point. Also announcing a winner tonight, John Fetterman, for the Democratic Senate primary in the state of Pennsylvania. Kelly Meyer is standing by live for us at Dr. Oz's headquarters. Kelly, Leland just said this. It could be a long night. It could be a long couple of days right now. Give us a feel in the room with Dr. Oz supporters right now and how they're kind of reacting to the neck-and-neck race that we see.
Well, we just saw some energy injected into the room here. It was relatively quiet for the past 30 minutes. People on the edge of their seat watching as McCormick maintained this lead over Oz. But we'll pan across the room. You can hear people cheering as they're hearing Oz taking the lead, as they're counting some of these counties. We're hearing some applause for the first time in the past 30 minutes now. They've been watching this, staring at the screen, seeing McCormick have this lead over Oz here and feeling a bit worried. But they say, as they know, these votes are still coming in. But McCormick, a bit of surprise here. We had thought he was coming in third earlier in the day. We saw Kathy McCormick, that rise of her as well, pushing in between Oz and McCormick. But for some voters we talked to on the campaign trail here, you know, they wanted to vote with their conscience and vote with McCormick here. They were supporters of President Trump in 2016 and 2020, still say they love Trump, but they wanted to vote for McCormick here. So it's an interesting test of Trump's endorsement in this as well. But going back to Barnett, seeing how she split the vote here, she also talked to supporters earlier tonight, not conceding, but take a listen to what she had to say.
I have the blood of slaves coursing through my veins. I know the good, the bad, the downright despicable things that took place in this country, and yet I stand here saying this is the greatest country that has ever existed. And I am so proud to be an American.
And guys, this is getting close. If this comes within a 0.5% margin of the total vote, this could trigger an automatic recount here in Pennsylvania. As you can see, supporters of Dr. Oz here glued to the screen, watching these results come in. Again, it was really quiet here in the past 30 minutes to an hour as we were watching these results starting to come here in Pennsylvania. But now we're seeing some energy in the room, some applause, some excitement. We may hear from the candidate tonight, his team not confirming or denying whether he will be out or what time he will come out here tonight, you guys.
All depends on the results and how things shake out. All right, Kelly Meyer, stand by. We'll be coming back to you shortly. Thank you, as always.
All right, Scott Tranter, Decision Desk HQ, with us crunching the data and making the calls for us this evening. Scott, I'm looking right now, somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 votes between Oz and McCormick. There's no way this doesn't go to a recount, right?
Well, it's close enough. That's what we were saying about the Donald Trump-Biden race in Pennsylvania in 2020. No way it goes to a recount, and it didn't. It certainly looks close. It's a half a point. What I will say is the models are showing, and the way the votes have been breaking, because they break it out by election day votes, people who voted today, and absentee votes, people who voted mail-in votes in the past. Based on how they've counted it and who's been winning those, we know that Mehmet Oz is going to close the gap. The question is he going to close the gap and make it close within recount? Is he going to close the gap and make it ahead in recount? Or is he going to close the gap and get out of recount range? And that's the question here. And then Kathy Barnett's not out of it either. She's showing pretty strong strength in the Philadelphia suburbs. That's why we're looking at Montgomery County, which does a lot of votes out. She could make this interesting. If I were a betting person, which I am, I'm not betting on her, but she's certainly pulling some votes in and making it difficult for Mehmet Oz in the Philadelphia suburbs to take the lead over McCormick. All across the board, there are scenarios where everyone's at, but it's hard to say who's going to win other than we need to see a lot more votes come out.
So talk a little bit more about where some of the votes are coming in and what's out. And if you're Dr. Oz tonight, are you nervous at this point, or is it still too far away?
You are, I think you're moderately confident because you knew that, or at least you thought you knew that you were going to be behind as votes came out because McCormick had a lot of the absentees and was going to build a lead, and you knew you were going to close. The question is, are you going to close by enough? He's showing some strength in Western Pennsylvania, McCormick's home base. He's losing, but he's not losing by the margins we thought he was going to lose. So that's showing some strength. And McCormick is not showing the strength around the Philadelphia suburbs that he needs to show so that he can overtake Oz. So that's really where the fight is. And then when you put Kathy Barnett in there, she's sapping votes away from both of them. So, there's good pieces for both of them. My projection now, and projections are models, and models can be wrong. My projection now is Mehmet Oz is going to make it closer. And we're going to wait to see if he overtakes him. If he overtakes him, it's within a half a point. We're going to be talking about this for a couple of days.
You made a great point where you said Kathy Barnett is taking votes from both of them. 2 weeks ago, we didn't even mention Kathy Barnett when we talked about Pennsylvania GOP Senate. You very rightly said this was a race to watch. We just didn't realize why. Who is she taking more votes from? I'm looking at the Philadelphia suburbs. Conceivably, that would be Oz territory. Looking at some of the areas just north of Pittsburgh, conceivably, that would also be Oz territory.
It's interesting you say that. The argument is she's taking votes from both of them, right? In the sense that people who aren't necessarily, they didn't like the nasty fight that Oz and McCormick have had over the last few months. If you remember, McCormick spent millions of dollars attacking Oz. Oz spent millions of dollars and had Trump rallies attacking each other. And so these Kathy Barnett voters in the last couple of weeks, they looked at it, they didn't like it. And they said, I'm a McCormick voter, but I didn't like what he was doing. I'm an Oz voter. I didn't like what he was doing, so I'm going to vote for Kathy Barnett. She's taking from both, whether it's the suburbs of Pittsburgh or the suburbs of Philadelphia, her hometown. She's arguably, she's a cross-appeal candidate in a Republican primary.
Scott, I want to get your thoughts tonight on John Fetterman. He has secured the Democratic nomination for Senate in tonight's primary. Of course, he won tonight after having these health issues, scary health issues in the last few days, a stroke, a pacemaker. Who is the candidate on the Republican side that will give him the biggest and toughest race come November?
It's a good question. Fetterman is the best candidate for the Democrats, and it's good to hear that it sounds like he's recovering. He'll make a full recovery and make it a race. Against McCormick, who's a hedge fund billionaire self-funder, Fetterman wears sandals and T-shirts and hoodies out on the trail. He's going to look like an everyman compared to McCormick. And then against Oz, who's a good showman, very good on the camera and all that, Fetterman's not bad either. He plays well against him as well. And if it's a Kathy Barnett, both of those candidates have grassroots appeal. I think he matches well up against all three of them. If you're any one of those three, you are worried about Fetterman. So it's a slight edge to Fetterman simply because of where Pennsylvania was in 2020 and the fact that he's a strong candidate and is going to raise a lot of money. It's still a toss-up, but if you're Fetterman, you feel pretty good about any of those three.
Scott, when we're looking in terms of where the vote is breaking and who it's breaking for, what does that inform us for the general election here, both in terms of the issues that drive Republicans to the polls and also Republican enthusiasm?
It's interesting. I would say Pennsylvania specifically is a microcosm because I think Kathy Barnett's rise has a lot to do with her pro-life stance in the Republican, very, very heavily Catholic Republican primary electorate, which may or may not, have impacts in other races. But I think her rise is a lot due to that. And then you look at the fact that, Mehmet Oz had a Trump endorsement. So I think that has a factor. But then again, Madison Cawthorn down in North Carolina had a Trump endorsement, and he did not win his primary. And so that's a long way of me saying is there is a wish-wash of issues, and it's state by state, and I don't know what we're going to be talking about 2 to 3 months from now, whether it's inflation, whether it's, you know, the war in Ukraine or whatever it is, but these states are very individualistic, and when we do Georgia next week, it'll be something else.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.